To our viewers and listeners, welcome. This debate is presented by the City Club of Corvallis and the Corvallis Advocate. City Club of Corvallis is a volunteer-run nonprofit organization that seeks to present a diversity of viewpoints and a constructive dialogue. The Advocate features fresh daily hyperlocal news for Corvallis, town halls and debates, and an extensive weekly events calendar. You can support debates like these with a subscription to the Advocate. Those are $10 or $15 monthly. I am Steve Schultz from the Corvallis Advocate, and co-moderating with me is Helen Higgins, former City Club Vice President. We thank Benton County Board of Commissioners Commissioner candidates Pat Malone and John Wilson for their participation in this debate. Pat Malone is currently in his second term as one of 3 commissioners that lead Benton County's government. Challenger John Wilson serves as a city councilor for Adair Village and is on the Benton County Planning Commission. Helen?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. And for our first set of questions, we're going to talk about governance. So let's start with, John, you'll be our first response. What's one part of Benton County government that isn't working as well as it should, and what would you do differently?
Oh, that's what I would speak to directly is one of the issues that I spoke about last night is I think one of the deficits that we're running into right now is providing services to our mental health, addicted, and a marginalized community who are falling through the gaps. We do have the new Benton County Crisis Center, but because of funding issues, it isn't fully staffed. It isn't fully operational, unfortunately. And I know that that would be one of the issues that, if elected, I would like to be able to tackle. My background in nonprofit experience with 26 years in social work, I managed to procure funding for large programs that I ran in the nonprofit that I operated in. And with that experience, I think I could hopefully bring that to the table in county government in order to find resources to make those funding gaps disappear so that we can get those services running. I know that we also have issues about hiring for those programs, especially with certified professionals in the treatment world, because those are positions that are in high demand. But it is something that I think that the county can do much better at. And one of the steps in that right direction is Judge Demarest. She did restart the adult treatment court. But I believe that we need to have the resources and the funding necessary to meet the goal of reaching the individuals and those that are in need in that particular area. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Pat, same question?
Yeah, I guess I'd have a little different take on the question. I think we have made pretty good progress. I guess mental health and addiction type issues. Where I see the really large hole in our spectrum of services is we have a jail and we need a correctional facility. And this discussion has been going on in the county for decades. I would encourage anybody who could to tour the current facility. It's small. We don't have room for programs, including addressing addiction issues, and we really need to do something about it. I was just out at the new courthouse site this afternoon, touring the courthouse and DA's office, and that's coming along pretty well. And I think when that's completed in about a year, we can turn our attention to seeing what kind of community support we can get for a modern correctional facility that will keep adults in custody in Benton County, not having to send them off to Clackamas County or other places that aren't close to town and not close to friends and family. So I would say that's the big one.
Great, thank you. All right, next question, and Pat, we'll start with you. State policy impacts local government. What will you do to influence Salem's decisions in a way that supports Benton County priorities?
Okay, I've already worked on that at my instigation. About 3 years ago, Benton County hired CFM as a lobbying firm so that we have full-time representation in Salem. And they do a great job. The commissioners and other staff track legislation, but especially towards the end of the session when things are happening quickly, volunteers, volunteer lobbyists have a difficult time keeping track and influencing legislation. And so I think that's a major change that I helped instigate and is serving Benton County well, because their health issues, transportation, there's a lot that goes on in Salem that affects the county, and having full-time lobbyists in Salem has really helped Benton County.
Great, thank you. John, same question.
Sure. And while I can't disagree with Pat, obviously having CFM as the support network for the county to be able to keep that broad spectrum of issues within their bandwidth. Relationships are another important issue, and one of the ways that I managed here in the Adair Village, in order to secure a $4 million grant for our waste treatment plant so that we could continue to expand our housing stock here. We're currently building new homes here in the southern part of Adair Village. And the relationships with Representative Sarah Finger McDonald, who spearheaded the funding for our project, was a critical relationship that I was able to have, and with Senator Sarah Gelser-Bluen, who also supported that measure. And that passed last year so that we now have the critical funding in order to get that particular project done. But again, I think it highlights having those relationships with our state legislators and with other state leaders in order to have those conversations outside of the necessary framework of having an organization keep all of the activities within the framework and spectrum that the county can address, but it's those relationships which are also important as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, John, we'll start with you on this one. So this viewer's question asks that you talk about a time that you disagreed with a governing body that you were a part of, and did you go along, dissent publicly, or do something else?
I had an experience as a city councilor in another small town, and one of the issues that arose in the community was that at that time we were doing broad spectrum mist spraying for mosquito vector control. It was during the time, if you might remember, in some parts of the country where the West Nile virus was very active. And one of the concerns from many residents in the community was that the broad spectrum spraying was essentially a hazardous an environmental hazard. And so I disagreed strongly with the council with regards to their position on keeping it the full broad spectrum spray from going. It was done by truck down every town street. And I managed to work on an ordinance in which I was able to develop a pattern of spraying and other types of treatment for mosquito vector control, which reduced the amount of environmental spraying that we had to do. And I felt very proud of being able to do that. And I had to work the council really hard for them to agree with my position. And I had to make some compromises, but at least I think in the long run, I was doing the right thing environmentally for the residents in our community.
Great, thank you. Pat, your turn.
The first thing that comes to mind was on a land use issue that came before the Board of Commissioners about a year ago, and it was citing a dwelling in an EFU zone, and the applicants had done a lot of work, but they wanted to cite a dwelling so they could have hired help to help them on their, I believe, about 20-acre farm. And I didn't feel like that they really had met the criteria. And so we had a vote there. My colleagues thought that it was a gray area, and thought that they would err on the side of supporting the dwelling unit. But as somebody that lives in rural Benton County, I think putting housing where extra housing is often a detriment to the land use goals. And so I lost on a 2-to-1 vote. That was approved, but we are working with our comprehensive code to clean up some of those areas where maybe the state says one thing and the county code says something slightly different. So in the next probably take us a couple of years to go through the code and clean up some of those gray areas or inconsistencies between state and county codes.
Great, thank you. All right, next question. Pat, we'll start with you. If you were approached by a company that you believed was offering a campaign contribution or some other financial benefit, and you believed that they were seeking a particular future outcome from the commission, how would you proceed?
You're talking about a personal campaign contribution.
Well, yes, or some kind of personal gain for a decision.
Okay, pretty easy. I don't take those kind of contributions. I am proud to say I don't have any special interest dollars in my current campaign or in the campaigns I've run in the past. So I try to hold myself to a high ethical standard. I'm not in this for the money, and that would and as a business person, I've had plenty of chances to do funny deals that I have routinely turned down. That I think it's important, especially as a elected official, to be squeaky clean and make sure that people know that when they have an issue, that I will decide it on the merits and not because I've got friends on one side or something like that. So.
Great, thank you. All right, John, your response.
Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. I would simply decline it and I'd report it. And I think that because Oregon government ethics laws are pretty clear that either a candidate or a public official cannot receive something that looks and smells like an illegal contribution or a bribe or other type of remuneration that this entity or this corporation or individual might try to give to me. And I think that that's the easy part, is just to simply document the approach, report it to the appropriate ethics office, and make it public if that's an appropriate avenue to take. And then and because transparency is the is the biggest cure for these kind of fiscal shenanigans.
Great, thank you. All right, we're going to shift gears a little bit towards infrastructure. John, we'll start with you responding to this question. So as you are aware, the city of Corvallis is looking at upgrading their buildings. A proposed new city hall and police station. The city and the school district are facing approximately $6 million in repairs to Osborne Aquatic, for which the county has contributed some funds. The county's in the process of building a law enforcement building off of Highway 20 by the HP campus. So what are your views on looking for ways to collaborate on infrastructure to keep our costs in alignment and reduce the tax burden on individuals, families, and seniors?
What I want to recognize at the outset is that, especially with the new courthouse and district attorney's office being built off of Highway 20, while it is a necessary facility, and I commend the county for being able to manage the finances in order to make that happen, but the critical issue is, how do we get those other projects that we desperately need? As it's already been mentioned, we are going to need a new correctional facility that is modern, can provide the resources and the services that the individuals who are incarcerated there can receive. And I think that funding leverage between all of the municipal governments, whether it's the county, city, and even the state, is the critical area in which we can try to find the funding that's necessary. But I would want to do that work first with regards to determining where we can get the funding before going to the voters, as we've done in the past here in Benton County, in order to get capital projects built, like the Justice Center Improvement Project, which I think was the last levy that was proposed to the voters, and the voters rejected it resoundingly. So I think it's important for incumbent, if elected as a commissioner, that I look for ways to leverage the funding with the other communities, with the civil governments that are already here, work with our relationships with our state government, and with federal resources, which I realize are under uncertainty at this point. But that would be a critical part of that picture. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat, your response.
Yeah, I have paid some attention to the civic campus proposal that Corvallis is working on, and I'm sympathetic to Corvallis needing modern office space, but I'm afraid my bias is back to the correctional facility that the county needs. That's a mandated service that the county has to provide. And right now, like I mentioned earlier, with the very inadequate current facility, that's the top of my priority list. To get, and we're going to need to be creative to whether it's the city or the county, in figuring out how to leverage the dollars we have with the needs of, in this case, correctional facility. And that's why the county is in discussion with the National Institute of Corrections to get help with design and hopefully funding. And we've also got at my suggestion, a reserve fund for the correctional facility that's in the budget currently with almost no money in it, but looking for opportunities if some projects come in under budget to transfer some of those funds to the reserve fund. I would be glad to be a partner with Corvallis in discussing what their needs are, and to be continued.
All right, thank you. All right, next question, and Pat, we'll start with you. What do you see as the county's responsibility for addressing the unhoused? Would you contrast that with the role you see the cities inside of Benton County, such as Corvallis, Philomath, Monroe, for example?
Okay. we're all in this together, and different entities have different strengths. The strength of Benton County is in our health department. Uh, we have approximately 600 full-time employees in the county, and almost 300 of them are in the health area. And so I was just at the groundbreaking for the Third Street Commons, which Corvallis Housing First is developing. And when the old motel was there, the county helped with services. So that's our strength. We so we're significant partners, but often our role is in support, in counseling, in addiction treatment. As has been mentioned, the crisis center opened up last July and fills a need in between the jail and the emergency room for helping people that are having the worst day of their lives. So often I see the county as supplying the services, not necessarily the brick and mortar.
Thank you. John?
Well, I think this is an important issue that we do have to address, and it is one that we're all together in. I don't disagree with the commissioner on that one. But what concerns me is that over the last 4 years, the point in time count for our unhoused population has only increased. And I realize that the county has implemented new programming and new services through the Benton County Crisis Center. And that there is a shelter, there is crisis shelter beds that are available, although those are at risk. I think that working collaboratively with our communities in order to address the unhoused crisis and finding the necessary funding and stepping up with our relationships, working with coordination and funding leverage in order to be able to do that, hopefully we'll begin to fill the gap and we can bring those point in time counts of the unhoused down over the course of the next few months and years. I think that that's going to be an important goal. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next question. So another questioner asks about lower income housing. Are we concentrating too much on it and not paying enough attention to developing higher paid jobs? And John, we'll start with you.
Okay. Well, it's an interesting dilemma because I think that when it's as if we have the chicken chasing the egg with regards to one coming for the other. Are we focused too much on low-income housing? I don't think so. I think as I said, our unhoused population, which has only been going up, I think there's still a need, and the Commons, the 47-bed coordinated care facility that was recently had a groundbreaking is a good start. But I also think that as we focus on the available housing, whether it's workforce or low-income housing, is an important issue for the community to address and to confront. We can only have if people can't live here who work here. I don't know that creating higher paying jobs is the problem. I think we have plenty of jobs. We just don't have enough resources for those who work them or they don't have enough resources who are working at those jobs to afford the housing that we currently have here in Benton County. And so that's going to be a real critical issue for us to address.
Great, thank you. Pat?
Yeah, I understand where the question comes from. I think we need all kinds of housing, the whole spectrum, and low-income housing, which I think is more of a city function, and they're in the last couple of years have done a good job. But I think as a small business owner operator, I think it's really important to retain the businesses that are currently here and do what we can to attract new businesses. Good paying jobs help solve some of this problem. The state economy is not booming, and some of the good news, I recently toured the Tallwood Design Institute on OSU's campus that uses wood from our region to make beams or panels, so that we can build multi-story all wood buildings. So that would give us jobs in the woods and give us good paying manufacturing jobs. And this is an exciting, relatively new venture that's going on in our area. And if you have any want to see examples of that, the Portland Airport's redesign uses that kind of wood, and the Tallwood Institute was instrumental in the design work there.
Great, thank you. All right, we're going to move to the conversation around Mary's Peak. So this questioner asked, the threat to Mary's Peak by timber harvest and the BLM is very concerning. Most concerning is that the headwaters to our drinking water is once again threatened. What do you propose to do to protect this area and the resources it represents? And Pat, we'll start with you.
Okay. Well, that I'm very interested in this question. As a longtime tree grower, I have some background in forestry, and this assault from the federal government is concerning, and I'm not sure how much we can do at the county level, but we can definitely contact our Senator Wyden and Merkley and Congresswoman Val Hoyle to do battle in DC to the best of their abilities, and also make sure we have strong forest protection laws on the books for the state. And I'm not quite sure that the federal government can trump our environmental laws. So that's a lot of blather comes out of DC, and sometimes it has substance behind it, and sometimes it's just blather. But this is concerning, and all of us need to pay attention. Mary's Peak is a special place, in addition to being the watershed for a lot of the drinking water that comes into the Corvallis area. So the county's already expressed our concerns, and we'll be paying attention going forward.
Great. Thank you. John, your response.
Yes, thank you. Well, I want to point out that I hope your listeners who will be seeing this knew about the comment period, which ended March 23rd, and got their comments in about whether they were in favor of or against the proposed BLM rule for the forest harvesting rules that they're going to promulgate next February 2027. And we are right to, I think, be opposed to this type of logging. We saw what it did in the 60s and 70s to the natural hillsides, and I don't want to see that return. And those types of large-scale logging operations are a danger to the Mary's Peak watershed and to the LC Falls area. Those are all, pristine, wonderful forests. They offer us recreation. They offer us space to ride, to cycle, to bike, and hike. And I think those are all important aspects to protect. And in addition to talking to our elected leaders, I think that we have legal tools that we can use at our disposal. And I think that Benton County needs to have a strong voice in those discussions when we will, if we have to bring legal action against the federal government around this particular logging rule that they want to change at the BLM. And so I think it's going to be incumbent upon us to remain vigilant about when that rule comes out and what they determine and what legal steps we, the county, the state, can take to protect these forests, because they are a natural resource that we need to protect in a environmentally sound way. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move over to a question around budgets. So county budgets have been constricting, falling in line behind state and federal budgets. So what budgetary challenges do you see as upcoming, and how do you believe they would be best addressed? And John, we'll begin with you.
Sure. Well, I know that the county budgets are being stressed, and I know that it's an area that's, where difficult discussions have to happen. My background in working in social work and working in nonprofits, and having had experience in managing and funding programs that I had to run, including my own salary, I feel that I'm well equipped and with the tools that I could bring to that particular discussion, so that we can make the necessary adjustments to the budgets that are that keep services in place, or that we can seek leveraged funding for particular programs where we may see a deficit from different resources, whether that be from the state. And again, we can try to seek resources from the federal government or other sources related to or around the federal government. We know that the federal government is pretty hostile to many of the programs that some of the states want to implement, and programs that they want to continue. But the budget is going to be a challenge. We know that there are cuts in Medicaid. They're going to challenge the health department budget because of those cuts. And so it's going to be incumbent upon the commissioner to be able to have the necessary creative conversations, leverage the funding as best they can to keep the program strong, and to use the tools, at least the ones that I've acquired over the years of experience working in the nonprofit field, of being able to leverage the necessary funding for those particular programs.
Thank you. Pat, your response.
Yeah, the county's current budget, we do a biennial budget that started last July 1, and we had approximately a $10 million funding gap to come out with a balanced budget. And by doing some trimming and carrying less reserves than we would like, we were able to balance the budget for this current time frame without cutting services or without cutting any staff, which was the goal. So far, the budget's and working as advertised. There are looming storm clouds, and one is the federal government. And well, I think of OSU. I was at Ag Research Foundation board meeting last Friday, and the College of Ag Science pointed out that in 2024 they got about $120 million worth of research grants. In 2025, it was half that. And a healthy OSU helps the county be healthy. I've got a lifetime of doing budgeting on our tree farm, having income come in once a year. And so I'm you learn to be careful, or you do without. And I'm careful about spending my money, and I'm very careful about spending the county's money. And so I think I'm also on the LBCC budget committee. And so I have I think I'm in good position to handle some of these challenges that I see coming.
Great, thank you. All right, we're going to actually circle back around. The topic is once again the jail. So over a period of decades, voters have time and again rejected plans to pay for a new jail with a bond levy. So what are your thoughts on how to address the aging facility and its capacity? And if you support a new jail, what options do you believe the county has to pay for it? And Pat, we'll start with you.
Okay, the existing facility is an embarrassment. It does not reflect Benton County values. Uh, uh, I am in awe of the jail staff that works there every day in not very good conditions. But the staff is to be commended. But uh, what in 2018, 2019, Ari Basil Wagner did a series of town halls to uh, kind of check in with the community, examining the whole justice system. But at this point, I think we can focus on just the jail. And I think once we get the courthouse and the DA's office up and running, we can look at engage the community in conversation and say, this is our situation. We need help going forward. And like I mentioned earlier, we are currently in conversation with the National Institute of Corrections to get design help and also funding ideas. But it's going to take a creative approach. And like I said, at my instigation, the county has a budget line item for a reserve fund for a new correctional facility. So we're trying to develop our own internal resources that may be used for matching funds.
Great, thank you. John.
Yes, thank you. Well, I want to acknowledge to the voters of Benton County that we've heard you. And on multiple occasions, when the county has attempted to pass the levy bond issue for a Justice Center improvement project or just for one of the facilities, the county has said no. And I think I agree with our past district attorney who simply said, when you try to bundle too many things into one package, it becomes just too much for the voters to swallow. And I think what's important to recognize is where the voters are with this issue. That being said, as a social worker with 26 years of experience, an inadequate jail is not the best practice, and it's a mandated thing that the county has to maintain. And it's important for us to look at how it is costing us now, not being able to provide the services to the inmates that are incarcerated there, whether it's rehabilitation, reentry services, drug and mental health services. If we're not able to adequately provide those services to them in that setting, then it becomes a costly issue ignoring it. So I think in that sense, yes, if we can leverage the funding resources for that particular project and hopefully come back to the voters with a sense that we can bring the funding that is necessary to build the new correctional facility and replace the old aging decrepit one. I think I even heard someone refer to it as a hellhole. And so it's just a disappointment. And I think that it's going to be incumbent upon us to look at those other resources, leverage the funding to see what we can get built. Because the last number I heard was that to build it today, it would be $200 million for about a 150 bed facility. And so that's pretty expensive. And so that's a lot of money that we're going to have to resource and determine where we're going to be able to put it together.
Great, thank you. All right, we're going to move to the final question in this round. And this topic is on the landfill. The expansion of the Coffin Butte Landfill has been among the most controversial topics of late. The Benton County Board of Commissioners approved it late last year and then unanimously reversed the expansion approval after the state revealed serious air quality violations had surfaced at the landfill. What do you believe may happen next concerning Coffin Butte? And what do you believe the county will need to do about solid waste over the long term? And John, we'll start with you.
Great, thank you. Well, let me say at the outset, as a member of the Benton County Planning Commission, I'm proud to say that after listening to all the testimony, reading all the evidence, and deliberating with my fellow commissioners, that we voted unanimously last year to deny that conditional use permit to expand the landfill. We did not see it in the best interest of the surrounding area or the county. That being said, now it has to be defended because it's being appealed to the Land Use Board of Appeals. And so the county is now in the position of having to defend their decision because they did come back and reconsider their decision to allow the expansion and have now denied the expansion. And so it's going to be incumbent upon the leaders in the county to make sure that that's vigorously defended so that we can uphold the denial of that expansion of the landfill. As a follow-up to that, I think it's going to be critical, and I think we need to move forward with plans now and not wait, because we only have a 10 to 15-year window, and by some accounts, we have even less, according to Republic Services. And so with the timeline for having a transfer station or a regional solution to our waste stream, I think it's going to be incumbent upon us to put something together so that we can have a plan and begin to build towards that project, whether it's a transfer station. The other component of that is that we need to reduce our waste flow. We're only recovering about 31% of our current waste in reuse, recycling, and composting. And so as a result, we're sending almost 70% of our waste to the landfill, and along with the 5 or so other counties that are sending waste there as well. But when that closes, if we can increase to either the county's level of 44% recovery or even higher, like Lane County's, which is over 50%, we can make a dent in that and hopefully have a waste stream that's smaller. And when we do have to ship it somewhere else, either to a landfill in Eastern Oregon, we can do it efficiently. Thank you.
Great, thank you, John. Pat, your response.
Yeah, we've spent quite a bit of time on Coffin Butte, and I think to summarize, it has a 10 to 15 year estimated lifespan, and that's why I was honored when Governor Kotek appointed me a chair of the Solid Waste Task Force last fall, and we have this year to have a series of meetings which will where we're examining our future. And there's half a dozen counties that the majority, either the majority or close to 100% of their waste currently goes to Coffin Butte. And so we need a regional solution. This task force is working on that, getting information, and so in some ways it's interesting, exciting times, because right now the companies say where things are going and how the system works, and hopefully with legislation starting next year, we'll be able to develop some type of regional entity that will be able to have a plan, build the infrastructure that we need to carry out that plan, transfer stations, and do a much better job of, especially Benton County, of sorting our waste and getting it under 50% going to the landfill, but hopefully by rail and to Eastern Oregon. So I'm in the middle of this effort.
Great, thank you. All right, thank you both, and also to all of our community members who submitted questions. Now what we'll do is we'll move to questions from the Corvallis Advocate and the voting public that have submitted questions over the last several days. So Steve, take it away.
Thank you, Helen. This next portion has somewhat been described by others as a lightning round, many questions in a short time, no set time period, but you will have way less time to answer each of these questions. There's a lot of them. We received a lot more viewer questions than what we normally might. So You'll be getting interrupted when, I think we've kind of got that questioner's answer. So just go ahead and interrupt me back if you had an additional point. I want the viewer to get a full answer, but I also need to get all these questions out. Pat, this first one will be for you. It's kind of a continuation on the landfill. Questioner says, why did you vote for the Coffin Butte expansion? In the first place, many neighbors objected, many environmental experts objected. Um, did you at one point believe that Coffin Butte could be compatible with the long-term environmental and human health needs of Benton County residents, present and future? And Pat, you got like 30 seconds for that.
Yeah, what I did was follow the land use laws as they were written. I realize a lot of people, uh, especially neighbors, don't like having Coffin Butte there, and I appreciate that. But land use laws
Was there a specific land use law that got in the way of you not approving it?
of not approving it. Uh, what changed is the DEQ report saying that Republic is not a very good partner and are not following.
Okay. Any additional point on that?
What's that?
Any additional point on that?
Uh, just that the situation changed because of the new information that
John?
the DEQ report was scathing in their assessment of how Republic was actually following the rules that they're supposed to follow.
Okay. John Wilson, how would you respond?
Oh, I think that what's important to recognize is that the evidence that I heard over the course of the land use issue with Republic Services request for the expansion was a multitude of evidence talking about violations of the air quality, their violations on their cover issues, all sorts of issues that were impacting not just the neighboring properties, but the surrounding community. And as a resident of Adair Village, a lot of it impacts me directly. And so I, along with my fellow commissioners at the Planning Commission level, heard all that evidence, deliberated on all that evidence, and came to a decision to deny that conditional use permit before it went to the commissioners. And so
in short,
yeah,
John, you believe that from the get-go, the application was deniable.
I think it
Just
was
yes or no.
deniable, and the DEQ letter I think is just the icing on the cake. I think
Okay.
it was deniable before.
So I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you both a follow-up. In an instance like Coffin Butte, where present state land use laws may conflict with the community's health and well-being. So we're assuming there's a law. We're assuming that approval is required by state law, but it is also therefore going to be inconsistent with the health and well-being of the community. How would you proceed? Would you be willing to approve suing the state over a land use law um, in an effort to protect county residents instead of following the letter of the law? Would you be willing to sue to overcome that law? And John, I'm going to let you answer that first.
Okay, and I'm not quite certain because my standing as a planning commissioner, I don't know that I could direct the county specifically to either sue the state.
If you're on the county commission, you could certainly.
If I'm on the county commission, my first role on the county commission is to defend the decision that was made, and to make sure that decision stands.
We've left Coffin Butte. Say somebody else wants to do something. It's not good for Benton County, but state law requires that you say yes, and you don't want to. Do you support the idea of saying no, and we're just going to go ahead and get into a lawsuit with the state?
Well, without the specifics of a particular land use issue presented to me, I think at that point it would depend on what the nature of the request is. I mean, we get all sorts of land use requests that don't necessarily conflict with state law, and we don't get requests that necessarily conflict with community standards. So my impression is that would be something that would be outside the norm.
Okay,
And if you
so
were looking, if you were
within
looking
that
at an,
outside the norm as a
yeah,
hypothetical, just,
if you were,
yeah, you'd be willing to go to
and I,
court with the state or not?
I'm willing to protect the residents of Benton County in the best way I know, and if it
Okay,
means going to court, then I would. Yes.
okay, great. Pat, same hypothetical, and it's a listener question, and I'm interpreting best I can, but
Okay.
for the same hypothetical, what would you do?
Uh, I think I'm sympathetic to public input, but at some point, we if we don't follow the law, uh, we end up spending a lot, potentially spending a lot of money defending a decision that doesn't follow the law. So that's it'd be interesting to see what goes on at Luba. As you were talking about that, there's a current proposed fairly large church in North Albany, and that's winding its way through the process. And it reminds me of the Calvary Church by Chip Ross Park that was approved a dozen years ago. And there are conflicting state law probably prohibits it, and federal law may allow it. So
Well, either way, the county may wind up in court. Okay. And so it sounds to me like you realize that saying no sometimes means you're going to have to go to court to defend a no.
well, and you have to have good legal basis going to court.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, we're going to move along. Transparency and even basic foreknowledge came up for a number of people. There's a sense that, um, the public feels as though they are not informed before major land use decisions are made, like where the jail's going to go or what's going on with the landfill or something to do with like the church project that you're talking about. People don't feel as though they're informed ahead of time or in enough time to honor the comment period. They get really frustrated. And in fairness, there's some angst about the idea that people feel they have to go to a newspaper that is behind a paywall. And I get that. But in fairness, before I ask the two of you about this, I do want to comment that you can sign up at the county website for notifications of upcoming meetings. And you can always look at the county website for upcoming meetings if you're not signed up for notifications. Um, but the question is, what would you do so people feel better informed about upcoming decisions that the county is making? Especially most of these questions have to do with land use decisions. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Pat.
Okay. Uh, it's a challenge. I appreciate that you mentioned the county's website. We've revamped that extensively in the last year or two. Uh, it's a challenge to get word out to the community. We used to have a large active newspaper that the way I put it is you could put information in GT and be at least half done. Right now, the county's mailing list, I believe, is larger than the GT circulation, which includes Albany or Lynn County. We have over 12,000 people on our email list. We've got a very good communication team, but it's challenging.
Right.
We
So
don't have it.
basically, what you're saying is the resources are there. If you're not going to subscribe to a paper, subscribe to the county's email list, and you'll get everything. Is that what I'm hearing?
We're doing the best we can.
Sure. Okay.
We don't have a local TV station. It's just tough to get the word out, no matter how hard we
And
try.
then all
And
all of this material goes out on social media as well, does it not?
absolutely, and we track which social media is most effective, And we have a very good communication team, but that doesn't solve all the problem of people feeling like they're not getting the information. And some of it's you've got to take personal responsibility for finding out what's going on.
John, I want to move to you. Same subject.
Sure.
Anything, anything else you could
Well,
think of that
I want to
the
say
county could
the
do?
frame, it sounds as though the frameworks are there for us to be able to make communication a top priority for the community. The one thing I want to echo is that as a planning commissioner, that was a complaint that I've heard over and over, is that I didn't know there was a public hearing. I didn't know I could speak at that upcoming hearing. I didn't know that this was being considered. And so with those comments, some of the things that I've been doing as a city councilor here in Adair is trying to listen to my constituents. And I realized that trying to cover the entire county as one commissioner or a board of commission can be daunting. I think it's important and incumbent upon us to do that. I hold what I would call mini town halls with my small ward. There's, I think, about 200 residents in my community, in the ward that I represent.
And
And
actually,
so,
John, we're going to touch on
yeah,
that in a minute.
okay. All righty,
So
that's
I
fine.
think we got it. I mean, the bottom
Yeah.
line is, and I'm just going to say this as a local newspaper publisher, I have the Corvallis Advocate. You don't have to subscribe to you don't have to read either of the newspapers in town. You can subscribe directly to the county mailing list. I think the city and school board also has a similar list. So you don't have
Yes,
to
they do.
subscribe to anything if you don't want it.
Right.
But the next question is, and John, I'm going to let you started to touch on this. What does transparency mean to you in around just a quick 20-second couple of sentences?
Sure. And as I said, yeah,
it's an open-ended
transparency.
question, but it got
Yeah, I
asked by a
know.
couple of different people.
But transparency is an important issue. As I've already said, as a city councilor here in Adair, I have made it an effort to meet with my constituents, to hold many town halls. I commit as a commissioner, if elected, that I would hold town halls across the county in order to have those listening sessions with the community, especially the rural parts of the community, because I know North Albany, Adair, Monroe, Alsea, Alpine, all those rural areas of the county can sometimes feel underrepresented. And I think it's important in terms of transparency to get out there and to listen to the folks.
Pat, what does transparency mean to you?
Be open and accessible. And as a longtime rural resident, it is hard to hit all parts of the county and figure out where the meeting places are. Personally, I just went to Saturday Market last Saturday. Went to a EV show, car show by C3 in conjunction with Planapalooza. And then I went to the Philomath Rotary Salmon and Jazz. So, and another piece that I've started is Chat with Pat. Couple Tuesday afternoons a month. I'll be set up in our office building at Calapooya in the lobby, and our communication folks have gotten that word out, and I'm starting to get some people coming in.
And I want to point out to these viewers as well, this is your second debate. The two of you have showed up for second organization you're debating in front of this week. Okay, let's move over to some larger community issues. Corvallis schools are in flux, and the perception of many in decline. Healthcare access for even the well-insured has become an issue. Just try to find a PCP, an OB, or a counselor for your kiddo. These issues are making it less desirable to stay here, less desirable to move here, less desirable for prospective employers to consider relocating their companies here. What ideas do you have where the county can help out to make these sectors better? I'm just going to look for this kind of front line on schools and healthcare, just your top line. And I'll start with you, Pat.
Yeah, I think our schools are doing a good job in challenging times. I think most of the schools in the state have declining enrollment. There aren't people aren't having enough kids.
Okay, and then Pat, so you're good with the way that is.
Uh,
What about healthcare?
uh, that's a nationwide, worldwide challenge. I think Oregon's done a better than average job of getting Medicare waivers. And last figure I saw, 96% of Oregonians
Right,
have
but
health insurance.
in private health, I mean, OBs are fleeing the major health systems here. What's about to become multi-care, currently Samaritan. People are fleeing. Physicians are fleeing Optum, which used to be Corvallis Clinic. Uh, just trying to find a PCP, a primary care provider, or an OB or a counselor. It's always been a bit of a struggle, but now it's, nigh impossible. Would you think that maybe we could recruit these folks to our community?
I think the problem is at the national level, our with Obamacare, we made good strides in
Okay.
getting a
John, I'm going
number
to
of
go ahead and move to
people.
you.
Thanks. I think on the housing, excuse me, on the school side, I think that again, our schools are doing the best they can in trying times. However, I want to frame it in the context that our school funding formulas that come from the state, I think are now a mismatch with how our enrollments are going. If enrollments are falling, the dollars start falling for every district. And I think we need to go back and have a conversation with the state about how they allocate our education dollars to us so that we can leverage the funding that we may need in the
Okay.
future with regards to the schools.
Anything else you would suggest to do locally for schools, and we'll move to healthcare?
Just that I think that if we can leverage funding so that we can keep as many schools open and educate the kids that are entering into the system, I think would be a positive.
Okay, great.
Healthcare.
Healthcare. Yeah.
Healthcare. Thanks. I think it is a systemic issue. It is a national issue. With the falling dollars in many communities, hospitals are closing. We may be fortunate that that won't happen here, but I think it's going to be incumbent upon the community to try to make our community as attractive as possible to the healthcare industry, to those that work in the healthcare industry. And if those who work in the healthcare industry can't live here, that's going to be a hard sell. And we're going to have to make it feasible for them to be able to buy homes to live here, to work here.
Okay, and what are your ideas for attracting, and this will be for each of you, and I'll start this one with John. What are your ideas for attracting businesses to stay here or even to choose to relocate here? John, give me just 15, 20 seconds on that.
Oh, I think that if we can make the housing, the critical housing needs that we need to have here in order for a business that is coming to look to operate in Benton County,
How would you
that
do
can
that?
be confident. Well, if we can increase the workforce housing stock, I think we can make the businesses attracted to the fact that we can house the workers that they want to hire.
How do you increase the workforce housing stock?
The workforce housing is working in partnership and leverage funding with the various organizations, both locally and in the state, in terms of dollars that may be available to move more projects forward. There are projects in South Corvallis that are currently being built that I think are starting to address some of that. And here in Adair, we already have 400. We're on our way to having 400 homes here in this edition on the south side of Adair, which I think are also making an impact. And the houses that we've got that are being built just around the corner from me, they're smaller. They meet the needs of the families. They are single family homes, but they're smaller,
Okay.
3 bedrooms.
And
so I think that if we can have that,
John, I got to run
sure,
for time on
I
this.
got it.
So Pat, go ahead and your turn. What would you do to recruit businesses into the area?
Okay. I'd like to do a big picture. The tax structure in Oregon, I think, is detrimental to attracting businesses. We rely heavily on the income tax. So it's not just the Corvallis area or Benton County, it's state of Oregon. The governor has stood up, I don't think it's called a task force, but a group of lot of business folks to look into
So
this very
assuming
question.
the state gets that together, and they need to, I get that. Assuming they get that done, what would you do here locally?
Keep making it an attractive place to live with our parks, our bike paths, trails, uh, and uh, and making sure that
Okay, good, got it.
we attract businesses that can pay their workers a living wage.
Okay. Do you have any ideas, and I'll start with Pat on this one. Do you have any ideas for balancing the need for more revenue with the need for property owners to get some relief from the yearly jumps and what for many feel like mounting operating and bond levies? Um, could revenue be found in less regressive and more progressive ways? You know, payroll taxes, income taxes, like that. Also, do you think the county could find places to either save or entirely cut? Are there collaborations the county could leverage to reduce expenses? Are there duplications of services the cities inside of the county uh, are there duplications of effort there? And where could the county collaborate to save the county's taxpayers? Okay, Pat, I'm gonna start with you. You got a whole minute.
Okay. The state is heavily reliant on the income tax because Oregon's one of the few states that doesn't have a sales tax. I'm not proposing that, but because that is uh, not going to happen, but it makes it tough to attract higher income folks when they see our income tax rates, and right across the river in Washington doesn't have an income tax, and so it's a challenge. I mean, I'm not. A couple things that Benton County has done is I mentioned earlier about our lobbyist in Salem. We also have a lobbyist in DC trying to uh, figure out grants that we can apply for to whether it's roads, buildings, go back to the crisis
Okay,
center.
so what I'm
The
hearing
crisis
there
center was built with no county funding.
so what I'm hearing is you're gonna go after grants. Anything else you can think of real quick? Got 5 seconds for you?
Partnerships, public partner, public-private partnerships. We have to
Public-private
be we
partnerships,
have to be
grants. Got it.
we
Okay.
have we have to be creative.
Okay. Gotta be creative. Okay, got it. John, 60 seconds.
Well, I was going to just say at the outset that you're right. The state of Oregon, we depend on or rely upon the income tax, but we're also restricted in the changes to the property tax at the state level as well. And so those are restrictions that I don't know that we can get around in terms of doing some creative financing in order to give certain individuals relief. I've come from different states that have used different tools, and they have good sides and bad sides. I've lived in states where I've had all the various taxes, income, property, and sales tax. And some of those states have onerous sales tax. And it just is such a burden on the folks that are, the low income folks. It just becomes such a huge burden to have to take on that additional tax. And I'm not suggesting that a sales tax is the way that Oregon needs to go, or Benton County. But even if Benton County were to consider a local income levy, I think that would be also very onerous on our low income residents. I think that it would be too difficult for them to navigate, and we'd have an issue with not having additional funding versus.
Give me two tools.
Yeah. Two tools. Well, with my background in grants, I think that's one way to try to leverage our funding is to go for.
Got it.
Yep, on grants. And I think working with our state partners in trying to find creative ways for funding.
Okay, now, right now, this has been an observation from a few folks. What will we do to get the crisis center open for more hours per day and over the weekend, which is apparently a major bone of contention within the community that it is not. John, I'm going to let you start that one. You got 20 seconds.
I was going to say, in conversations that I've had with our county leaders, it's going to take funding because that's the gap. In addition to hiring the necessary staff, in order to open that second floor respite, we need both the funding and the staff to meet those needs. And I know that that's a critical need that we have, and I know that the community is disappointed that it isn't meeting that need right now. And
Pat, I'm going to go ahead to
sympathize
you.
with it.
How do you?
Okay,
Yeah, Pat.
what was
20
the question?
seconds.
What
Yeah.
was the question?
How do we get the crisis center
Oh,
open
crisis
for more
center.
hours over the weekend?
The good news is in June, our weekday hours are planned to go from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So starting to make the expansion
And the weekends?
uh, baby steps. I mean, we will get there. It took negotiating with the unions to be able to do the expanded hours. On as far as
Okay, Pat.
as far as the upstairs, we may be changing the plan because the funding model is changed from last year.
Okay, Pat, I'm going to go and move, and you'll start this one. What opportunities do you believe the county has for expanding bike paths and accessibility that would be actionable in the next decade? I know there's folks that will take a look at the thing that's happening in North Corvallis by the hospital. There's a multi-use path, I guess, or that's going to be crossing the 99. Any chance to get that going into Philomath somehow? I know there's been discussion of a Corvallis to Albany bike path. What do you think what can happen in the next 10 years realistically? Pat, kick it off.
Okay, I've been working actively to promote the Corvallis to Albany path. We've got 1 mile of pavement at the Corvallis end that ends at Conifer. Design work is being done on the middle section, about 6 miles of that. That will be far enough along this summer that we can look for funding for construction of that phase. You're talking about along 99W north of town. There's work being planned for a path on, I believe, on the east on the east side of 99W, heading towards Adair and McDonald Forest.
John, same for you. Bike paths, 30 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Right in the wheelhouse. I'm on the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is our transportation body. And as the commissioner has pointed out, we do have 1 mile of pavement on the Corvallis to Albany route. We also have design work on the Corvallis to Adair route, which I'm looking forward to because I know that that's a popular route for folks in our neighborhood. And so I think that both of those projects are in the pipeline. And I know that there are discussions on making sure that the paths that we currently have are maintained. And if those paths can be connected to Philomath or other communities, that we would certainly look at that. Yep.
Okay, for both of you, and I will start with you, John. Would you support term limits for county commissioners? If so, share why or why not. I just want the bullet. Give me the elevator pitch.
If the citizens of Benton County want to propose a charter amendment to change the Benton County charter to term limits, I would support that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Pat, you?
Yeah, one phrase that comes to mind is there are term limits, and it's called the voters. And so I have a lot of respect for the voters of Benton County. If there was a initiative on the ballot to say put in term limits and it passed, that would be fine with me. I think there's pluses and minuses. If you got a good commissioner, why would you get rid of them? And if you have a bad commissioner, 4 years is a long time.
Good. I think we get it. And then there's been a number of questions that have to do with what would you support to get more housing into the rural areas and at the same time, or throughout the county at the same time. how would the county plan for growth while protecting the character and livability of existing communities, protecting rural spaces from development, and balancing that with the need for, well, more housing? Pat, I'm going to let you start with that. I'm going to give
Okay,
you.
as someone who's lived in rural Benton County, the Kings Valley area for almost 4 decades, I think it's really important to be careful where we put housing. There's a reason we have cities because they have services, whether it's utilities, sewer, water, that sort of thing, bus service, that in the county you just don't have that. And so I would be very careful. ADUs have been mentioned as a way of increasing housing stock. I think that's more of a solution for families rather than really solving our housing needs.
Are
So
you
I
support
think
you support ADUs in houses that are on county that are county?
not necessarily. I think there's is the septic tank adequate? Is there water? So there's zoning
Okay.
issues
And then
that come
John,
up.
I'll move over to you.
I was just going to say it's important to respect the rural character of our communities in the rural areas, especially even ours here in Adair, which is a growing community. The other tool that we have is the comprehensive plan update, which has been delayed to at least 2027 because of funding challenges. But that's the opportunity for us to update a plan that hasn't been updated since 2007. And so it can address some of these very concerns like septic capacity, septic systems, and accessory dwelling units, which I do support because I think it is a way of providing additional housing, either for multi-generational families, or if it's a circumstance where in that particular property where it could ease the housing crunch and provide a small rental unit for an individual. But I think it's also incumbent on making sure that we have transportation systems that get people connected with those rural developments if they do occur. So for instance, here in Adair, we have the 99 Express, which does connect us to Corvallis, which is an important tool to bring the folks that are living here in Adair
Okay.
Village down to Corvallis. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, got your answer. And then let's see, another question. So we have several questions about the McDonald Dunn Forest and the county relationship with OSU. OSU owns that property that are the Mac Dunn Forest. On the other hand, there's been a desire to build there has been the perception that there is a desire to build either trails or more parking, and that the county has maybe somehow stood in the way of that. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea, but according to this questioner, that appears to be the case. I do remember there was a neighborhood association that uh, really stemmed the idea or thwarted the idea of added parking at Oak Creek, which has had some community-wide impact. On the other hand, there are folks that would like there to be maybe some permitting regime in place having to do with old growth logging. Just if you could give me just a minute or two on each of these, or from each of you on all of that. And I'm just going to say, I admit the questioners seem a little non-specific in some ways. I'll start with you, Pat.
Okay. Uh, the main connection that the county has with McDonald Forest is there's a regular meeting of local private and public landowners to talk about trails and trail systems and deal with some of the issues of some of our trails being uh, overloved. But uh, the I remember Steve Fitzgerald that was the forest manager there at McDonald Forest. I think he's retired. I've met his replacement, but the county doesn't have a lot of interaction there. But what I've been doing is OSU is an important part of Benton County, and even though they're close by, sometimes we go on our separate paths. I've been meeting with the provost, Roy Haggerty, several times just
Okay.
to casually exchange.
I need to go ahead and move over to John now. John?
Thanks. Yeah. Well, the McDonald Dunn Forest is my backyard, and it's a recreational resource that I value. And I think it's important that the relationship that the county has with OSU is a productive and positive one, so that those conversations, if they are difficult, can be had, and that those issues can be hashed out and compromises can be made. But you're right. We do have areas of our recreational areas which are overloved. And I can appreciate that because as a hiker, and a cyclist, I'm always cognizant of how much wear and tear those trails take, especially when cyclists don't observe the seasonal closures or when the areas get impacted by severe storms. And so I think it's going to be important to have those conversations with OSU, with the surrounding neighbors, with the communities that are impacted by this recreational resource. But it's an important one. And you touched on the old growth, and I wasn't sure, was the questioner worried about
Yeah,
old
okay.
growth
So
being
I'll just say,
harvested?
no, I'm going to hit you with a yes or no.
Oh, okay.
Should the county have authority to permit or not permit logging in the OSU forest? Yes or
Oh.
no? Pat.
No.
Okay, and then John, yes or no?
That would be a hard no.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the last two questions here. So firstly, um, okay, so this is going to be second to last question. Uh, what are the biggest challenges facing the county, and how are you uniquely equipped to deal with those challenges? Why are you the person to deal with these issues at this time? John, I'll start with you.
Sure. Well, one of the things I want to talk about is that I retired after 26 years in social work. I worked in the first half of that career in civil service, working with children and families in crisis, and in the latter half in disaster preparedness and response. And in the latter half, I was responsible for procuring grants and developing programs to serve the community and the survivors of various storms. I worked on post-Katrina and the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, all challenging projects. And I think that with the county, we have issues in the areas of healthcare, in the areas of mental health and addiction services, which I think are uniquely in my wheelhouse, which I think I'd be in a position to be able to address and bring a fresh perspective and a fresh voice and a fresh look at. I think those are the areas that are of prime need. But again, there are other areas such as our housing shortage and issues related to transportation that we need to address as well. But as I said, with that background, I think I hope I would bring at least that fresh perspective and the experience over the many decades I've worked in with individuals. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, John. Pat, same question. What are the biggest challenges facing the county, and how are you uniquely equipped to deal with them? Why are you the person to deal with those challenges, those issues
Okay.
at this time?
I'll go back to the budget. We are entering challenging times, both locally and with the changes in the federal government. Like I mentioned, federal government trying to reduce the number of people on Medicaid, which will increasingly affect our health clinics and the mental health crisis center. Uh, and as a lifelong small business person with uh, dealing with the tree farm budget and making sure that we had enough reserves if we had a bad year to keep the lights on. I think I'm in a really good position to deal with these budget challenges that we currently have, and some that we don't uh, know, but they're
Okay.
coming.
Okay, thank you, Pat. And then lastly, this will be the last question. Um, it'll serve as your conclusory statement. What lasting mark do you want to make on the county? Another way to ask that would be, if you have your way, what will people be saying about Benton County in 25 years if they elect you that they wouldn't be saying otherwise? And I will start with Pat on this.
Okay, a couple things that I've touched on. The bike path Corrales to Albany, that's been talked about for decades, and I'm working hard to get that one across the finish line. Uh, uh, Increasing the county's hiking paths. We're going to open McBee Campground. Well, it's open for day use, but for camping, so that we have some places to go to hike and recreate. And I think that, well, I'll throw in one more. If we can make some progress getting a correctional facility, I don't want my name on it, but if I can help get that one at least started and a plan forward how to achieve this. Really, that's the county's remaining uh, uh, gap in our facilities. So I would toss that one in. I hope to with another term be able to get a correctional facility at least in the planning stages.
John, thank you, Pat. John, 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you. I think the one thing I would like to know is that those residents in the future are saying that we have a wonderful, thriving community and that Benton County is a positive place to live. And isn't it wonderful that we had progressive board of commissioners, regardless of who they were, that were forward thinking enough so that they were working on transportation issues, so that we were reducing our use of our cars so that we could bike, walk, and hike to most of the destinations that we want to get to. I think it's important to have the housing and the infrastructure needs met so that people are talking about how it's possible to work and live in Benton County. And I think it's also important that we do the capital projects that we need and fund the capital projects that we already have so that those community members in the future are saying, I am really thankful that we had a progressive and positive and forward-thinking board of commissioners that were able to implement these programs and get these capital projects started. And we haven't, to make it such a beautiful community to live in. And if I'm elected as a commissioner, I'd like to be one of those progressive commissioners that does that. But I would be preferred to be remembered in the collective, in the cooperative nature of that effort, so that when those projects are completed, they don't have anybody's name on it. They just represent the views and the progressive perspectives of the elected leaders that put them forward.
Commissioner Pat Malone, Councilor John Wilson, thank you for your participation in this debate. Thank you to Helen Higgins for co-moderating this debate. We also want to thank staff, volunteers, subscribers, donors, and sponsors that make these debates possible. And to you, the viewer, we appreciate your interest in the upcoming election. And we want to remind you that Election Day is upcoming May 19th. Thank you.